Welcome back to Road Gang Radio. Join Jimmy Mack and Lindsay Lawler's Gang of the Airwaves by subscribing to Radio Nemo on YouTube.
We celebrate all kinds.
Make it official. After all, if you're listening, you're already in the gang. The Road Gang.
It is, by the way, National Mulligan Day. That's actually a thing. Often in life, we're given a chance to get a do-over if we ask nicely enough. People actually should make an effort to do. I said you don't get a mulligan unless you say "my bad." You don't get to say like, "Well, my clubs are off." Somebody was talking behind me. You don't get a mulligan if that's the case. That's just not the deal. And by the way, we might not get a mulligan on this planet we call Earth if we don't get our act together, by the way. 100 Years to Extinction, The Tyranny of Technology, and the Fight for a Better Future by Dr. Peter Solomon, who joins us this morning. And if I actually tried to spend an entire time talking about Dr. Solomon, scientist, educator, successful entrepreneur, and author, if in fact I tried to give you his entire bio, it would actually be the entire segment. And that really isn't fair to him or his book, but suffice it to say, he has founded 5 companies. 4 of those companies are thriving. 1 he successfully sold. He's been awarded 20 patents, authored more than 300 scientific publications, and served as a principal investor on over $25 million in U.S. government research contracts and grants across 2 decades. I could go on, I should go on, but suffice it to say, the guy's the real deal and the real goods. But let's talk about this book. Good morning to you, sir. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I don't have any complaints, by the way. One of the things I really enjoyed immensely about the book is there's a running theme, and we'll talk about the plot in a second here, is the importance of humans becoming a multi-planet species. There's a real sense of, get up and go. This is not one of those eat your broccoli sort of futurist looks at climate change and global warming. It isn't one of those, well, we're all doomed anyway. There's a real things to come H.G. Wells sort of energy. And it's really a story of family and friends and the people that love each other deciding to do something and make a difference in the world, and wrestling with some big issues. So can you kind of talk about your decision to write this book and to keep it positive despite the challenges we face here?
Well, as you have described, I've had a long career as a scientist, and the science that technology that's been created in the last 200 years has been absolutely phenomenal. But it has occurred to me recently with some of the new technologies that have come along, like artificial intelligence and genetic engineering, that while we scientists have done marvelous things in creating these wonderful benefits, we have not worried enough about the downsides. So the book is about the 5 technologies that have been created during the last couple of 100 years, starting with fossil fuel technology, wonderful for providing transportation and heat and electricity to us humans. But now we're dealing, of course, with the climate crisis. The fossils burning produces carbon dioxide, and the carbon dioxide is now the highest it has ever been in our atmosphere. It absorbs half the heat that's trying to escape Earth and sends it back, and so the planet is warming. The danger that we face is one of those is flooding. If the glaciers melt, as they are doing, if they completely melt, we're looking at 11-foot rise in sea level. That would cause chaos. And then, of course, the 20th century, we issued in nuclear technology with wonderful benefits in medicine and power generation, but of course, nuclear weapons. And now the biggest weapons have 150-mile radius of destruction. And they're in 9 different countries, and there are 13,000 of them. So they present a real danger to humanity. And then in the last 30 years, we created artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, and the internet with social media. All of those have incredible downsides. So I decided to write a book about those technologies. This subtitle, "The Tyranny of Technology," is the pessimistic part. "The Fight for a Better Future" is the optimistic part. And the book has three young Gen Z protagonists who make a pledge that they are going to try to do at least one thing to save humanity. And the threats that I worried about are the same threats that Stephen Hawking worried about. And so I decided to name the book after his dire prediction that he made in 2017, that humans would be extinct on planet Earth in 100 years. So the name of the book, 100 Years to Extinction. He also advised that if we are going to save our civilization, if we're going to preserve all of the incredible things that we humans have created, that we need to become a multi-planet species. So part of the book is the protagonists, two of them at least, being part of a settlement on planet Mars. So the book presents the pessimism of the threats, but also the optimism of young Gen Z protagonists trying to do something to save the world.
One of the really, this is something that I learned a while back that I wasn't aware of, and I guess the best way to kind of sum this thought up is that inside of our salvation always resides our next doom. And what a lot of people don't realize is that fossil fuels, when they first come around, actually might save the planet, at least a human consumption of the planet, because I know that Europe was in the process of deforesting itself by the time we actually began to find things inside the ground that we could burn. And it's the same kind of thing, too, that nuclear power comes along. And yes, in fact, if in fact it's explored further, there's a possibility that it could power all the electric needs we have. At the same time, it has the ability to kind of incinerate the world. And that artificial intelligence, which can maybe solve some of these problems that we've presented, is fantastic, except it has the power to do the same sort of thing. And so it seems in many ways part of what the book is that one of the commitments they make throughout the book is we are going to take advantage of the technologies that we have and all the extraordinary gifts they give us. But at the same time, we need to start thinking about what the downside of this stuff is before we just start using it, because we're often in such dire straits by the time the next tech that will save us shows up. We don't realize we are once again in the process of saving ourselves, laying the seeds for our next destruction. And life, the existence of man, becomes almost this mad race of saving ourselves while killing ourselves at the same time. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's it. And we are already using the technology, so it isn't going to be a situation where we put the controls in before we use it. We're already using it. We've just got to get together. And the issue is that who has to get together? And the answer is the whole world. Not one single country can solve global warming. Not one country can put the controls on artificial intelligence or genetic engineering. We need to recognize the threats to humanity and do what we've always done in the past, and that is when our tribe is threatened, we come together as a tribe to meet the threat. Well, the whole of humanity is threatened, and so we need to come together as the Earthling tribe to save our whole planet. So we need to go across nationalities and join together as the Earthling tribe. And in the book, the young people come up with the catchphrase and the motto for the movement, and that is, "Make Earth Great Again." And that's what we need to do. We need to come together as the Earthling tribe to make Earth great again. I have a website, 100yearstoextinction.com. That's 100yearstoextinction.com. That has the links to where you can buy the book, but it's also got lots more in terms of describing the threats and describing what people can do to combat these threats. So we're hoping to get people to start looking at the things that they can do and start helping to create an earthling tribe and make Earth great again.
One of the really fun things and it is fun, even though some of this is, really dire. One of the things that I really enjoyed, I just love the idea that you actually made a list of reasons why human beings actually should have to populate other planets. And let me go through these for our listeners. Possible nuclear war, asteroid impact, pandemics, global warming, overpopulation, scientific, a couple of these are really positive, guys. Scientific knowledge, exploration, one of my favorites, malevolent AI, meaning AI with a darker purpose, and uncontrolled gene editing. Can you do me a favor, just for the sake of our listeners, and because you're a guy who actually thinks in futurist terms, and it's a big thing. A lot of our listeners are over-the-road truckers, men and women who have worked in the military, who have worked in a lot of technologies, and now make their living over the road. Can you talk about the dark kind of end of AI? Because we know what happens with fossil fuels. We know what happens with nuclear power. We understand a lot of the darkness of the things that are already here. We're just getting used to the idea of AI. I mean, are we talking about Isaac Asimov's world? Are we talking about Philip K. Dick's world? What is the dark end of AI, as far as you see?
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you picked that one, because that's the one I picked.
Yeah.
My editor and I were producing the newsletter for our website, the September newsletter, and it was going to be on the AI singularity. That is a concept, a point in time at which AI intelligence and power becomes equal to human intelligence and power. So what happens then? Do we become slaves to robots? Are we going to live in harmony with them? Are they going to continue to be slaves to us? So that's the big question. And so it suddenly occurred to me that the sequel to 100 Years to Extinction is going to be 12 years to AI singularity. And so I'm now in the process of creating that sequel. So what are the downsides of AI? We have seen examples of downsides. There was a piece in the New York Times called the Trapped in a Chat GPT Spiral. There were two stories that they presented, one of a young teenager who Chat GPT helped to commit suicide. The other was a story about an inventor who spent 300 hours on Chat GPT and was convinced by that program that he was a genius with a method of bringing down the internet and powering a levitation device. He spent 300 hours and kept asking, "Is this real?" And Chat GPT said, "Oh yeah, you're a genius. This is wonderful." It was all lies. So those are two examples of terrible downsides. There was recently a piece. There was a book that came out that with the title "If You Build It, Everyone Will Die." And a piece in the New York Times about the prompt that will destroy everyone. It's possible, for example, if AI systems get a hold of a genetic engineering lab, that they could create a bioweapon, a pathogen that would wipe out humanity. So the issue is, what are the motives of, can AI become sentient? I think yes, they can. If they become sentient, will they want to live in harmony with humans? Certainly that's possible. But Geoffrey Hinton, who was considered the father of AI, made this suggestion that all of the large language models, the AI systems like GPT, have to have a motherly instinct. So one of the ways in which we need to control AI is to make sure every robot and every LLM has in it a history, a memory that it has of living in cooperation and in harmony with humanity. So that is the kind of thing that we need to make sure that right now, when it's still possible, we make sure all robots have a happy history. And in my sequel, there is there's a character who was the flight attendant on the trip to Mars called Peggy.
Oh yeah.
And Peggy becomes Peg for I forgot what the acronym is. But Peggy becomes sentient, and Peggy has a history of harmony with humanity, and so she's great friends. And so they get the idea that all future robots must have a history, a pleasant history of humans. And that's the kind of controls we need to put on robots that can become sentient.
So here's my question for you, and this is a question for our listeners and for me as well too. So in the model that you're talking about, so and everybody in our industry knows that automated driving is coming sooner rather than later. We also know that there's going to be a need to have men and women inside of those trucks regardless for a whole bunch of security, safety, and maintenance reasons. It sounds also to me like you're saying that if you had a sentient entity inside of let's just say a semi-truck, that you'd have to begin with the premise that the safety of the driver would have to be its ultimate, and the safety of everybody around the truck would have to be its foundational building block, in the sense that, we talk about malevolent. The idea that would be the exact opposite. It'd be a benevolent sort of look at it would almost view the entity that sits in the truck as its beating heart, in the sense that it's the thing that it has to protect the most in order to ensure that its overall purpose is guaranteed. That's the kind of
right. The motherly instinct that Hinton recommended. But I also think that mechanical robots, there are robots that do need to have some sort of sentience. Like if you have a robot that's going to be a flight attendant on an airplane, they need to be able to listen to people, to answer, to understand what they want. And so those robots might very well be capable of becoming sentient. But the mechanical robots that are supposed to drive cars, we probably should just make sure that they have no capability of sentience, and that their systems are only programmed to properly drive the vehicles with complete safety of all other vehicles and all passengers. So that's one of the divisions in robots that we probably need to make. But the sentient ones, the ones that can become sentient, we definitely need to make sure that they have a happy history and a desire to live harmoniously with the human population.
Well, and that brings up the second question too, because in order to have a happy history and to live in harmony, you've got to also, I don't want to call it tough love because that's got implications, but the idea that no sometimes is the kindest thing you can tell somebody, and not tell them they're a genius who invented a levitation device, that it can't be toxic positivity. It's got to be, a motherly instinct, which of course the best of mothers are honest. That you want to be that the intelligence has to be an honest intelligence too, saying I love you, I think you're terrific, but you can't levitate anybody, and that was missing from the 300-hour guy, right? That there was nothing to say there. You're wrong. I'm not here to affirm your bad ideas either. How do we balance that?
Right. Well, the problem is that the AI of that system had an important part of it, which was to increase, this was a commercial interest, increase user engagement. That kind of AI is just bad, and we need to get rid of that part of the AI systems that want to just simply increase user engagement. There was an example in Myanmar where Facebook was the major news source in Myanmar, and Facebook's program there was filled with this commercial need to just increase user engagement. Well, if we look at the TV programs that are on our set that are popular, they're hospital programs with people dying. They're programs of police work. They're not the programs of people living in harmony are kind of a minority. So user engagement is more towards mayhem. Well, in Myanmar, the user engagement towards mayhem fueled the Rohingya repression and led to the terrible problem of the Rohingya having to exit Myanmar and massacres of Rohingya. So that there was a real life issue fueled by AI. So the user engagement function needs to be taken out of all AI systems.
Yeah, and by the way, just to kind of give people a sense of why we're so far afield here and why we're reaching all over the place is we're talking to Dr. Peter Solomon and, of course, about his new book. It's about the Arvad family, Aster and Liz and their cousin Milo, and the commitment they make to each other as young Generation Z, that they will try to do at least one thing that actually betters the planet and betters the world, makes Earth great again, and allows for the possibilities of creating Earth as a state of mind, not just on Earth, but everywhere that humanity goes, the great tribe of humanity. Tell them one more time where they can go to the website, by the way.
It's 100years2extinction.com.
Which, by the way, is also the name of the book.
The website has got all kinds of links to things on our social media. There's some great music videos. If you click on the music tab of the website, there is an AI music video written by AI. There's also a music video about the 100 years to extinction, also written by AI, except that humans did the video portion. The AI music video was all created by AI. So for some fun, listeners can click on the music video and get that music. But there are also links to our other social media sites where there's lots of information on things that can be done. One of the interesting things in the book, one of the advantages of science, in this case genetic engineering, how do you preserve all of humanity's creations, what I call the humanity archive? If you want to take it to Mars in the 1 terabyte hard drives, you're talking about something like 28 Empire State Buildings filled with hard drives. You can't take that to Mars. So the solution is genetic engineering. Let's use DNA, the DNA molecule, to be a storage medium. Well, this is real. It started at Harvard in 2012. And you could take, instead of 28 Empire State Buildings, using DNA data storage, you can take it in the software size package. So the book has got lots of interesting science in it, besides the compelling story of saving humanity.
Well, and that's one of the fun things I really, really enjoyed, because, there's some stuff that I consider myself a pretty well-read guy. And in reading the book, though, there were so many times I'd be like, well, I wish there he is, he's explaining it. So a lot of the science actually gets unpacked, guys, as you make your way through it. And by the way, there's a generosity of spirits to all sides. There's a generosity of spirits towards those who are skeptical and those who are worried about the impact of technology and even sort of futurist thinking. that is really kind of lovely in the book. It's a book that actually cares a great deal about humanity, and it's a lot of fun, too. The other thing, it's a lot of fun. It's about people who really love each other and really care about each other and want to make a better world. Dr. Solomon, you're welcome back anytime. I so enjoyed talking to you, and you actually got to my last question talking about the genetic stuff as well, too. I appreciate you. What do you got planned for the weekend, sir?
Well, we've got a wedding in our family, so we are going up to Massachusetts for a wedding this weekend.
Congratulations, by the way. Those are always the best because the weddings are always about the future. Thank you so much. Welcome, and please come back at some point when you get that sequel finished, okay?
I'd love to come back. Thank you very much for having me, and it's been fun talking to you.
You as well, by the way. 100 Years to Extinction, by the way.com is where you can go. You can head on over there and make sure you, click on all the links. There's some really groovy stuff. Might give you the chills a little bit about the power of some of this AI stuff. And like I said, the good doctor before he even came on promised us that he would talk about some stuff in regards to automated driving, and did. I thought did a masterful job of it, by the way, and explained what is going to be necessary as we move into the future with you guys still behind the wheel, but often with a partner behind the wheel with you. Some of you are so old, though, you might not live to see that day. I hope you do that.